script and why they're positioned where they
So
are.
I actually have some questions. Well, first of all, it's pretty much our script. I don't know if there was really any questions you asked. Oh, she's.
I texted two things to you, Mark, that I heard her say that I didn't want to forget.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping it wasn't going to distract you, but I didn't bring a paper with me.
No,
here.
all good. Okay, go ahead, Mark. What were you going to say? And then we'll address Michelle's.
Oh, okay. So you asked one question that you asked that we don't is, are you planning to sell your house yourself? And part of me feels like asking that question might give them the idea. And I feel like whenever someone's actually planning to sell it themselves, they let you know that they're thinking about doing it themselves. So that's just, I don't know, my thought on that question. I'd love to hear your.
Yep. So even what about the interviewing of other agents?
Oh, I asked that question.
Yeah. Okay. And so like, how do you respond when they say yes?
I just say, that's fantastic. And then I generally will ask who they're meeting with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to know who I'm up against.
Yep. But you're not going to go and fight for the listing over the telephone, right?
No. Oh God, no.
So the purpose, so all of these questions and how there's the series of them is to get a better understanding of their thinking. And
yeah, I want to get information, not give them any.
Yes, we want to know what we're up against. If they're considering selling it on their own, and I love what you said, like, oh my gosh, should I? And did you hear how I went into like,
yeah,
good choice. I committed, I just shut it down. But fact of the matter is I would much rather know before I go out there, all of the things that I'm going to have to be prepared for, the objections, like with the listing presentation or even the pre-list, you put in stats about FSBOs and what the things that I just said, like what the pain points are there. I would much rather know. And I mean, I've never lost a listing because I asked that question and they decided to go FSBO. And let's be real, the market's adjusting right now. That question, yes, you could use your EQ. The market was bearing FSBOs. Like you want to educate them so they can make the best decision for them and their family. And you're educating them against a FSBO on all of the crud that it takes to get a property on the market. And It's true, NAR lawsuits left and right. They're unintentionally saying things or doing things that a licensed professional would keep them protected from. So I'm not sure if that answers your question or gives you different perspective.
And then the other thing is, so we do ask the question about, is it all decision makers going to be there? I've only been talking to really just the exact way that you worded it. I wrote this down mostly not because I had a question. So I had a client that he wasn't even on the deed. So he didn't actually need to sign anything. His wife was on the deed, but she had no interest in being there. He was adamant that she wanted to sell and she just wants him to take care of everything. And then she'll come in and sign when she needs to. And I kind of had to make a decision on that to move forward with the appointment regardless, because she just wouldn't be there. And at the end of the day, we finished the appointment and lo and behold, he calls her. She was there in 5 minutes. She comes in and just signs the papers and that was it.
That's a one-off. That's not scalable though. Not every seller is going to be. Yeah. So like there's some EQ that's involved there. And again, you made the decision. It didn't turn into a twofer, right? Like where you had to go back out twice. She came and boom. But for the most part, that's not how it typically goes down. So the purpose of this conversation beforehand is to know all of the objections that you're going to need to be prepared for. And on top of that, let's be real, your competition is not doing this. Your competition is not like spending the time up front to really dive into one of the biggest transactions in these people's lives. Like, did you hear I kept bringing it back home? Like, yes, do you see how I customized that conversation? I mean,
yes.
Maybe you don't have that particular sequence of questions that I was running off of.
Yeah, ours are in a little bit different of an order.
Okay.
like, for example, I've only been speaking with you. That's one of the first questions that we actually ask.
Yeah, that's totally fine. But the fact of the matter is you're not going to go out there for the most part if both decision makers aren't there, or if all decision makers aren't there, right?
Which is why I get that out of the way first.
Fair enough. It sounds like it's been painful in your previous life or something. I'm like, do you want to talk about mistakes made? I'm like, I used to go on listing appointments for like 2 or 3 hours, and Craig's like, where the hell were you? So I'm like, I met all of their friends and their family, and I know everything about them. And he's like, did you get the listing sign? I'm like, no. So,
But we're great friends.
but we're friends. They like me. They're gonna hire us. Oh my gosh. So I'm poking fun at myself, because otherwise, what is the point of going out there without otherwise earning their business? Like, you could take care of all of this over Zoom or the telephone before you even go out there. So it's about time. Like, otherwise you're wasting their time too. I'm pretty sure that those people did not appreciate me being out at their property for 2 or 3 hours. Like, who plans for that? So it's almost rude on my end as well, without, oh my gosh, they like
I don't know. Some people really try.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So, Michelle, what questions did you have? And then I want to touch on a couple of things in this conversation and what it really brings. So more soft skill coaching.
So it wasn't so much questions as it was, there were a couple things that we didn't say that I liked. And we definitely ask what they want to list their home for, but I loved the question, is there an amount you won't go below, in addition to that question, which I don't think we ask. And I like that. And then I wrote down the NAR stat.
Highs and lows.
I wrote down the NAR stat about FSBOs. We don't ask the thing about FSBOs, as Mark mentioned. I just wrote down the stat though, because I feel like it's a great talking point anytime you are talking to someone who wants to go FSBO.
Totally. You scare the bejesus out of them.
Usually what I see about when like talking to FSBOs is people talk about, agents get X amount more than people who sell their home FSBO. That's usually the stat I see. So the one about lawsuits I liked better, actually.
It's true. Like, literally go to NAR, pull it up, pull the actual data, screenshot it, add it to your presentation.
That sounds scarier to me. Then you're going to get a little bit less money.
Yeah. Right. So awesome. Anything else?
No, those were the 2 notes that I wrote down. Everything else, like Mark said, it's very similar to the one that we do.
Awesome.
And so, can you actually add in there, Michelle, the
amount you won't
what you won't go below? Yeah.
Yep.
So and notice, so maybe you have it or not. So on this particular one, I was using EQ because I had already said, and it was cool. This is what spontaneity does. Like, I did this. I stopped. It's literally been probably 6 months since I've even looked at this particular script or refreshed and as soon as I found my flow and my cadence, it just started going again. Like it's second nature. And that's what that script practice conversation practice does. Like, it's been forever, and it just started going again from the years that I've done it. So one thing I do want to bring light to is, like, if you get objections of the price, like, what objection do you think you would get if somebody doesn't want to answer the price they wouldn't go below? Like, what would somebody rebuttal on if you ask that question?
Well, I mean, a lot of times they just say, I'd rather not share that. I'll get that on, well, I get, how much were you hoping to list it for? I'd rather not share that, or I was hoping that you would tell us. I get that a lot, which we're hoping, you're the professional. We were hoping you'd tell us. That's an easy one.
That's all that was one I always used to get to. So how do we handle that?
Oh, I just say, absolutely. We look at houses every day. We know the value of them. I think that's a pretty simple response. Maybe I'm giving the wrong one, but.
No, and it's something, so yes, we look at houses every day. We know the value of them. And at the end of the day, this is about you. I don't come up with the list price. You do. My job is to get you the most information possible so you can make the best educated decision for you and your family. And at the end of the day, it's about what a victory looks like to you. And I'm just going to be fair. Like, we want to make sure that we're like, if I don't believe that I could achieve that for you, I'm going to be the first to raise my hand. I always go into, I don't take the job lightly. This is a huge deal. You're retiring, right? You're moving. Like, I am hellbent to get you the most amount of money that the market will bear.
I think that's great.
So what about how much do you owe on the property? Have you ever had somebody not tell you that?
Yeah, that's what they usually say is, I'd rather not share.
Yep. And
Which
my response could be the same exact thing. Like, I so appreciate that. My job as a professional and a fiduciary is to get, like, really driving in, getting you the most amount of money. And we'll be able to put, like, I would take it back to the net sheet without calling it the net sheet. Like, we would want you to be really clear on what it is that, like, across the closing table. And keep in mind, there's times where you can't push that over the telephone, and you
Right.
can't. There's times that you can and can't. But why the heck would you? It's like no different than putting a buyer in the car, not knowing if they're qualified or filed bankruptcy the day before and wasting your time, or taking a buyer out that's qualified for 300,000 and out looking at $700,000 properties. It's on the flip side. Like, why would you not know what you have to work with here? Because it's about them and the victory for them. Period. Okay. So are you guys good? I know we're kind of creeping up on time. I wanted to go through a couple more with y'all. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay. So so the questions that I asked, the sequence of, it's quickly describe your house for me.
Yeah, that's to disc them. We have that as well.
Is to disc them, and it starts, so we're really going into their thinking, right? So rating their house on a scale of 1 to 10, what question, like, what does that bring up? Like, what do you learn as an agent when you're asking a seller, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, or rate your home on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, I always just thought it's a condition of the property isn't what you're kind of getting yourself into, but I feel like you're going to tell me there's something more.
There is no, totally fine. So I really want you to think about that, though, because of the psychology, and ask your agents that too when we're going through this. So rating it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's going to tee up the following question. So it's like where they think it is, but the following question is, what would make it a 10? That uncovers what's wrong, like, or what they don't like about the property. And you do want to know what that is.
Yep.
I've had people that are like, oh my gosh, it's a 10, or it's a 9. What would make it a 10? Well, if we could pick it up and take it to South Dakota or North Dakota, wherever that is, like, they absolutely love the property. So, and that first describing the property for you, they are naturally going to start going to things that they like.
Right.
So quickly describe it. Okay, you like the hardwood floors. I mean, people will talk about, I spent $200,000 on the kitchen remodel and blah, 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 blah. Or, I spent $20,000 on a new AC unit 12 years ago.
I love it when you get the brands of everything. And
oh my gosh, totally. So, and again, when you're disking them, if they're super Cs, maybe slide in the pre-listing package, a list of what they like about the property, so that they could just start. I mean, we used to do the seller's disclosure, property disclosure. Have them start filling that out before they even go out. You got that?
so
Handy dandy marketing seller package.
So when I was on the phone with somebody the other day, he was a high C, and I told him just to list all that stuff out, and we'll, I'll be able to look at it afterwards. And I got the list, dates and when they did this, and all like they have a Ring camera that adds a tremendous amount of value to the house. Right. It's very important.
That $400 camera is going to increase the value by $400, right? So
Clearly.
clearly. So again, these are things you want to talk to your agents about. So anything positive or negative about your house that could affect the price? That's pretty no
So I'll,
nonsense on what
again,
that uncovers.
well, we asked what would it take to make it a 10? And then the follow-up question after that is anything positive or negative. So I mean, it's pretty much in that same order that we have it.
Awesome. Good. So what we just did right now, just keep doing that with your agents and
Yep.
remind them what those questions bring, what they mean. The fact of the
Absolutely. Yeah. When
matter
we
is-
like this morning, we didn't have a tremendous amount of time. Obviously, we're going to keep going over it. So I just went back to actually tell me about your house, and then brought up the disc thing and kind of brought up different ways that people could describe their house and ask them to tell me where they were on the disc, just to create a little bit more conversation on it. So
Awesome. So ICE is going to send you the recording of us role playing it if you want to put that in your resource library. But
Cool.
again, we're not handling objections over the phone. We're getting clear on what the objections might be when we get out there. We are coming in so prepared that there's no other reason for us not to sign when we go out.
awesome.
All right, team. Okay.
Thank you.
Homework is continue script practice. Deal?
Cool.
Okay, bye.
See ya.
Bye.